This is a Candlelight Movement breaking news. We have important information to update the public with. With regards to our next couple scheduled meetings that we've had to put on hold due to the 7-case spike in COVID-19. We were in touch today with the Commissioner of Police. He advised that all further meetings would require also approvals from the CMO and the Minister of National Security. And we have decided, as it has come to this, we have decided it may be a better position to take for us to put our meetings, our public meetings, on hold, at least until they get a hold of these 7 cases that are a spike. And I'll turn you over to the Public Relations Officer of the Candlelight Movement, Candice Barrett, and she will give you more information as to the dates of the meetings, where they were to be held, and which ones are on hold.
Good afternoon. So we had intended, the Candlelight Movement had intended to have a meeting in Arima on the 19th of March, this coming Friday. And we were going to be in South on the 26th of March. Those events have been, we've slightly changed the way that we intend to hold those meetings, and we will still be at those locations. However, we'll do things slightly differently to how we would have done them at Baraka Grounds or previously at Woodford Square. The team will be down in those locations on the 19th of March in Arima, and on the 26th in San Fernando. We will update the locations and confirm where we will be in South. However, we're doing things slightly differently. We will have members of the committee there together with volunteers, and we will be signing petitions. So we're not going to have a big event, we're not going to have a crowd, we're going to adhere to all COVID-19 regulations and guidelines and try to be as responsible as we can, because we obviously we are cognizant that that is definitely something that we need to be aware of. But we will ask everyone interested in coming down and signing the petitions to come down, meet with us. We'll have volunteers, we will be social distancing, and we will be collecting signatures for petitions in groups of 10.
Also, we have the information from, I guess, Guardian Media. Felicia Holder will give you the information that we have now with regards to the existing numbers.
All right, so this is reported by Guardian Media. We are listed in Trinidad and Tobago as community spread. We have not changed that designation for a while now. When we look at the classification from the World Health Organization, we are at a place where we can be classified as low community spread. This incident or incidents we are seeing in Caroni is reason for us to maintain our vigilance throughout the country. COVID-19 is here, it is in the country. It hasn't gone away, and there has been a little complacency over the last couple of weeks because of the low numbers, in my view, Dr. Parashram said. This cluster, he said, had the potential to cascade into more significant outbreaks in a very short space of time.
I want to put to the crew, before we get down to any other information, this is my question. Now, a couple of months ago, the Minister of Health was warning the nation about a second wave coming. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, if we shut down, where those cases going to come from? What I don't understand is, if the country is shut down, if the airports closed and we lock down, how are we still getting cases? Where are they coming from? We're quarantining the people when they come in, and we're letting them out of quarantine when they're COVID free. So how are we getting cases of COVID a full year later? Where are they coming from? Or is it that we've shut be official ports, but people still coming into the country who might be COVID positive? Anybody?
But people are still leaving the country. There are still flights going out and coming into the country. So I don't know how they said they shut it down. If you check online,
No, but
you will see flights.
Are those people quarantined?
Well, yes, they have to quarantine.
If the CMO said he'd be vigilant,
Uh-huh.
I just asking this question. If you're being vigilant, vigilant has a meaning.
Correct.
So vigilant says, and we understand COVID-19 now, you can't come out of quarantine, you don't have COVID, but it's living in your pocket. If you
Right.
COVID-19 negative, you cannot infect anybody after 14 days, yes?
Correct.
That the world knows
Right.
that. So we are not supposed to have any cases of COVID-19 in Trinidad and Tobago if the Ministry of National Security was actually doing its job. If the borders of this country were actually closed, because we got to zero.
Right.
Then we had an election, and we got a couple hundred case spike.
100 cases?
I don't know how much it was.
1,000?
It was thousands, yeah.
It's thousands of cases.
Thousands of
and
cases.
hundreds after the
But I
election.
wrote the president twice over the course of 6 weeks when that spike was rising by the hundreds, and vigilance wasn't the issue then. But we're vigilant now for 7 cases. And I have a problem with that. And I find, and I think, you're leaning in, so I give it away.
No, you go ahead. I was just
No,
going to
I-
mention
I
that.
given way, you
I was just going to mention, was there a spike in Tobago
For the THA election,
since the THA elections? Is it a spike as 7 in Trinidad, or have they identified cases in Tobago? Because they had a THA election, which was very carnival-like, in celebrations and campaigning. And how long since THA elections gone now?
and that's a very valid point. And this is what I'm saying. So many things that were obvious triggers to spikes were ignored. Avanel, you were just in Tobago. So many things that were obvious triggers to causing spikes were ignored. I'm seeing a political response to the Candlelight Vigil brewing on the fringes of social media. Some of the people, I see an organization called PNM Citadel, I don't know what that is, but PNM Citadel was not calling for vigilance when we were spiking during the national general election in August 2020. I wrote the president twice. I think it was about 3 weeks apart.
I remember you were calling for a postponement. of
I said
election.
that obviously we're spiking COVID-19. Why are we pretending that we're vigilant now? Because people are gathering for something as important as protecting our women. I have no problem with us stepping down. We didn't have to have all of these public meetings, and we could carry on with our petition. We cross our 100,000 and we're going where we need to go, and the petitions are all out there. And we will have our motorcade / march. If we don't get permission to march, we'll have our motorcade that drops the petition to the parliament on the, what's the date of that?
It's the 9th of April.
9th of April.
But my question is this again, and I'm saying this because I'm finding that the state of Trinidad and Tobago, the elected officials that oversee the state, are being very dictatorial. We saw it at Woodford Square last Friday. Was that last Friday or Friday before?
Friday before.
We saw it at Woodford Square, and now we're seeing it here. Now I want to say, as my contribution here, the Commissioner of Police has been very fair with us, and I respect his position here, and we immediately stand up. We stand up, we will have our meeting in Arima, just 10 of us, and we'll go live, and the public will still get the information, but we won't have the crowd. Yeah?
Yes, we will abide by the law of the land and whatever the regulations are.
So they will still get the information. We're still carrying on as we were.
Yes.
Now, we had 3 meetings planned. Arima,
San Fernando.
and then back to headquarters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before the
The
march.
The march and motorcade on the 9th.
Right. So, if we are being vigilant for this, how vigilant are we being? Are we being vigilant inside fast food restaurants that have 12 workers and 20 people gathered for their chicken and chips. How vigilant are we being? Because I would like to know if this vigilance is not just to stop a growing movement of Trinbagonians who are finding their democratic voice.
Well, I am not sure what is in the mind of whoever is making these decisions or these fringe groups that are coming up and saying, I've been asking when they're going to stop us. But I know that whatever their efforts are, those efforts will fail, and it will send a very strong message to the people who are at this moment clamoring for change. Because if instead of, it is like your child is crying for hunger, and instead of feeding your child's hunger, you want to beat the child into silence.
Wow.
You know, so this is what it will come up to logical, rational thinking citizens of this country who are simply saying, listen, what we want is a better day. We want a safer space. You know, yeah, we are going to be doing this in a very law-abiding manner. And I think again, the ball is in the courts of the political directorate, and history will record their response. So whoever is these political strategists, this is a long game, and they need to see the end game, and they need to strategize properly. This is not for immediate gains. They try to shut down some little thing that they perceive to be a hype, but a body of people growing, feeling that they have hope, feeling that they have a voice. You really want to be on the side of the people that further oppress those people who are speaking out because they feel oppressed? Those strategies should be fired.
But I mean, exactly what Avenel said, we saw with Woodford. Because, I mean, yes, okay, it was mildly inconvenient for a short time, but a lot of people saw it as the powers that be trying to shut
us
down. Yeah, and you only do that if you're threatened.
Well, one thing that we were discussing amongst this team is that them doing that, though, is only furthering our agenda, and I think it's only, and we saw it outside Woodford Square, rather than the people say, oh, well, they lock us out, let's go home.
Yeah.
They got upset,
People got
and
angry.
they got adamant, and
Yeah.
they said, we're staying, and the reason why the police had to close Knox Street was because we refused to disperse. Actually, the people refused to disperse, and I think coming out of this event, and I think any other attempts, if there are any, to stop us from carrying out these meetings is only going to further the reach of the Candlelight Movement. It's only going to further the agenda.
I know you're going to jump in, but I want to ask you, Stefan. I saw the Attorney General walking with thousands of people in San Fernando with a candle in his hand. Was he being vigilant?
What is vigilance?
Well,
Is it okay?
I had a call blink.
Is it vigilant and COVID conscious, right? I'll use that term, COVID conscious. To blank a meeting in Woodford Square by locking the gate, to put the crowd of people on a narrow street that is Knox Street, where they can't socially distance properly. Is that vigilant? Is that COVID consciousness? I don't know, you tell me.
My concern is what this telegraphs. It telegraphs an uneven playing field. It telegraphs a double standard. I am going to go to the fast food restaurants and do live videos tonight. I'm going to prove the point that we're not being vigilant. We're being double standard. Our meetings, we had our largest crowd was on the night of the funeral. That was our largest crowd to date.
Right.
And we got 21 days later, there was 0 case spikes.
Miraculously.
Now people have said, and I don't want to plug into the conspiracy theorists, but the mask law comes to an end in 2 weeks. So they may need a spike in cases to justify having draconian laws. We have no vaccines. We have no idea when we get in vaccines. So the country is at a standstill in its own COVID response. But for general elections and local elections that put tens of thousands of people in the street winding up on one another because left foot, right foot, sign it with a Balize pen politics required you to climb up on each other's shoulder and whine on the head. And that's okay, that's the culture, fine. But it's a double standard to say that mummies and daddies and grandpas and grannies and little kiddies that social distance. I was in Baraka grounds, and they were there were big spaces between the people.
Wasn't an area cordoned off for this?
Absolutely.
In Baraka grounds?
Absolutely.
Right.
A very
And the
wide
reason why
area.
we cordoned off a massive part of the grounds
It's the social distance.
was for the social distancing purposes. Now, Just to make it very clear, there has been no reports of any cases linked to any meeting
No, because they said
held by the
there's 7
Vigilance,
cases.
Candlelight Movement.
There's 7 cases is tied to one individual. This is what the CMO is saying, who spread it to his family and his workplace. Now, I find that is very incompetent on the part of those people. And from the start of this COVID-19 response a year ago, the government has been playing very selfish with the actual information, so people don't know how to protect themselves. It seems that you have to always turn to the government and take their word for it.
Yeah, well, okay. You just mentioned somebody mask law. You know, many people that have been ticketed have actually paid the tickets.
People say they don't know where.
Did they set it up?
0 people.
But
Yeah.
they say they don't know where.
Yeah, but just about a month in January, I think it was. Was it in January when the report came out that they pass a law for you to wear a mask, but
You
they
have
do have a
to pay it.
system in place for
Yeah.
you to pay.
No, they don't.
And they said that system would be ready in a few weeks. We already passed a few weeks. Still, no system in place. There's no system in place. So all the people that have been ticketed,
Is there a deadline on the ticket for when you
They
have to
cannot
No.
pay? Is there a deadline
I
on
don't
the
think
ticket?
so.
no.
But I'll say 2 things.
No,
One,
I think they said 14 days.
That's what I'm thinking. A
They have
ticket,
14
really?
a
days.
ticket
Yeah.
gives a ticket.
But 14
gives
days to
you-
pay it where?
But I
But that's
told,
the point. But
this-
a ticket gives you a time frame.
A time
It
frame.
does. Yes, it does.
because my neighbor got one
Okay.
and he went to pay it. And they say, well, you had to come
They have
back
no way to pay
in
it.
May. So he said, May. And they said, well, yeah, we don't have anything in place to accept the money right now. So I told him,
Stefan.
if there is a time limit on the ticket,
and that's
rip up
it.
the ticket and throw it away.
Correct.
Because if you had to wait on me, which is no fault of yours, and the 14 days up and you can't pay because they didn't have a system in place, that's their fault. Rip it up,
Let
shred
me
it
show
up,
you. Let me show
burn
you.
it if you want,
Let me
and
show you
throw
why
it
the
away.
vigilance is a lie. Let me show you why the vigilance is a lie. Because we've been holding this information for a couple weeks now, and we've been waiting to see what the government would do. We've noted all of the public health institutions.
Mhm.
We've been into private and public hospitals.
Yeah.
The COVID snotty rags are picked up by garbage men who are not given any protective gear to handle COVID waste and taken to the dumps and dumped at a place called the tipping point. The tipping point in the dump. I stood up there together with all of the scavengers
How long ago?
a couple of weeks ago. All of the scavengers, all of the kobos and everything, and they would come and they would dump all of the garbage, which includes all of the snotty rags. Everybody who was self-quarantined home with COVID-19, all of the stuff that they used went into those garbage bags and went into that landfill at that tipping point. When it is emptied out of the garbage truck, a big tractor-like steamroller comes and rolls over everything to burst all the bags open right there. And all of the scavengers and all of the workers digging up in it right there. And where are the cases of COVID from Peter? Where are the cases? All of the snotty rags, all of the waste from St. Clair Medical Center and West Shore Medical Center and Port of Spain General Hospital. When you go in the bathroom in these hospitals, they tell you do not flush tissue paper, put it in the bins provided. Those bins are collected by the janitorial staff, dumped into the big bins, and those bins go to the landfills. Our landfills are then open to the environment. Rain, sun, and breeze blows that toxic soup. We get Sahara dust in Trinidad from Africa. So you know that the dust from the Beetham landfill is blowing into Westmoreland and Goodwood Park and Goodwood Gardens and Victoria Gardens and Pitty Valley and Diego Martin. And I'm saying this because I am having a big problem with the government's mishandling of this entire COVID-19, and to all of a sudden get 7 or 10 cases and say that you're being hyper-vigilant to protect the country. I refuse to accept it. I take this as a clear attempt to use COVID-19 to further oppress the people of this country. Trinidadians want to have their say. They want to come to their meetings and say, we want better. I see that the Minister of Works has all of a sudden a taxi plan. Give him a round of applause. The Minister of Works all of a sudden has a taxi plan. The Attorney General all of a sudden has a pepper spray plan. Great. So let's get to the license plate plan. Let's get to fast tracking the firearm users licenses. Let's get to the Commission of Inquiry into the criminal justice system, because after those 5 items, we have more items on the list.
Yeah,
We have other petitions to come.
that's right.
If petitions are going to force the government to work, we will write a petition a month.
Agreed.
Going forward from here, what is the date of the meetings that we are supposed to have? So people will know. I want them to look out for, because this meeting that was supposed to happen on Friday, we're putting that meeting on the public part of that meeting on hold. We will be broadcasting live from there, the full team. And after that, the next meeting was San Fernando.
San Fernando.
What was the date of that?
The 26th
26th.
of March.
Is that also on hold as of now?
Yes.
It's on hold to the extent that we are still going down and we will still be.
No, but if the 10 cases become 2, or if it become 20, we will know and be guided accordingly.
Yeah.
We monitor the situation as it progresses.
What is the date of the motorcade that serves the petition?
The 9th of March.
9th of April.
Sorry.
9th of April. Trinidadians, we need volunteers to further help with the growing demand to sign these petitions. We're going out in public. We're going out to all the supermarkets and malls and everywhere. You're going to be in your mask. You're going to sign. You're going to take your hand sanitizer or wash your hands to go in, as it is everywhere, and give people the opportunity to sign your petition. We're going to be doing that for the next 3 weeks. All of the people who want petition packages, continue to send your requests. We will get your petition packages delivered to you. We need all of the signed petitions, those thousands of signed sheets outside there. We need them to start to come back in. I think that we'll be announcing the locations for the drop-offs.
Yeah.
We're announcing drop-offs in North, East, Central, South Tobago by this evening. So I think, Stefan, you're doing a live tonight?
After I come off this live, you want to do a live again tonight? Yeah, you know.
You're not ready.
If I do a live tonight,
Just to give the
tonight,
information. Though. We need to give the information
see, I ain't gonna just give the information. I might say some things.
and talk for about an hour.
Yeah, I might say some things. But I on any morning.
When we get the information, we put in the public space and we send us a media release to all
Yeah,
the
let's send the
media
info.
houses.
I'll get the info.
We will get it to everybody in Channel Breaking Barriers, Ian Allen with Crime Watch. We will get it everywhere throughout the country. We will release it on social media. You will know where all of the locations are to return your signed petitions so that we could start to put it together. So as we bring this to a close, anybody give it closing comments?
No, I want to just say that everyone who wants to volunteer, so they need to contact us as soon as possible. Whether, because we're going to be going through different parts of the country. So if they are willing, some people might be willing to go out with the petitions in Central, some in South, wherever it is in Trinidad and North, whatever. So they need to contact us to let us know who want to volunteer, how many people want to volunteer, because we also need to take note of all these petitions as well that will be going out.
Yeah. Just want to add to that, remember people, this is about the petition.
Yeah.
This is about signing the petition. The public meetings was what we could call it?
The driving force.
The driving force behind
way
it.
to
Just
connect.
to raise
A way to
awareness
connect.
and connect with the people. But it already out there. The petition is nationwide. It's in the north, the south, the east, the west. It's in central Trinidad. It's in Tobago. So get to a location where you could sign the petition. We will give you the information a little bit later when we have the information as to all these places that you could visit, because a lot of places.
Yeah.
A lot of places. If you had to call out all these places, that's a whole hour in our life. Right? To take your time and go through so by so and so number. The other thing is, if you have petition packages and you have them filled, we will organize drop points. That's what you said a little while ago.
That's what we told.
We'll organize drop points. We want you to come and drop it in as soon as possible, because you see what is going on. So the sooner we have it, is the more power to you, and the faster we can move. They already started Trimble already. The signs there, The signs there. Pepper spray coming faster than we thought, all of a sudden.
The regulated taxi.
regulating taxi driver, all of a sudden, all this happened in the last 7 days, you know. And that was before the meeting Friday. So all it took was for them to see what happened on Knox Street the Friday before, when people came out in the rain. They saw the crowd. They said, all right, hold up. People didn't forget yet. They ain't ready to move on yet. Let me start to move a little bit. Let me pace. Let me bring foot on the X. So all of a sudden, pepper spray in the conversation. Attorney Crocodile Tears Al-Rawi is walking amongst the people in yes, but he's the one who said that if you have a vigil, that it have people in the vigil that is Crocodile Tears so what he was doing on a vigil on Thursday.
Why did PNM Citadel talk to that? Why didn't talk to Faris?
They wouldn't talk to that. They can't even get their grammar right. Did you see what they wrote? They said, why the police not doing nothing? It's why the police not doing anything. They can't even get a grammar right. If you're going to put out a post or something, get your grammar right at least.
They're writing with the wrong pen. Stop that.
Jeez, boy. But we just say, forgetting the Citadel group and forgetting all the other negative, problematic
No, but
people.
you have to say this. If PNM thinks it's wrong, Faris should be fired. If Faris thinks that there was grounds to light a candle, he should have resigned. There are so many things that in a real country, the Prime Minister would have asked for the Attorney General's resignation because he marched against himself. He marched against the cabinet. When the Attorney General went outside to light that cabinet, he admitted that the cabinet has failed.
I agree with you.
Because it's not a double standard to fix it, Avenel.
But could it be like, okay, so let me be the devil's advocate. Could it be that as a human being, right, he's entitled to have emotions, and if it's one of his constituents and he went there, I'm not in his heart.
I agree.
And he went as a very compassionate person.
I agree, but I want to tell you this. Unlike the rest of us who marching with candles, he has political power. He can fix the problem.
He's probably going to.
Avenel, every minute that he spent outside there with a candle was a wasted minute. He should have held the parliament round the clock. Say we're not coming out of here till we pass these laws, till we protect these people. To go out there and march and not do something about it is trying to fool the people.
Well, I'm optimistic because we've seen some movement, some traction that,
if you want to play
that he will
and the
have
pilot come and sit
spoken
down in the back by you.
Oh, Jesus.
Then we see the plane land itself. Look at what Faris doing. Faris marching against the Attorney General. So the Attorney General inside and outside. That's my question.
I'm just saying.
I am excited personally because once I see change start to move, I kind of think differently. So I am just glad.
You just like the tight shirt.
She's the forever optimist.
I am an optimist.
Let's not.
Listen, the fact that these things are happen, whether it's because of us or whether it's because of whoever, what we want to see is change. And I honestly don't
How
care
is that
who
change?
brings the change.
If he is outside, it's my
Not
question.
talking about the other things that we've seen.
No, but I'm just asking, if he is outside marching, who is inside fixing it?
Well, they would say that was on the scheduled time for the sitting of the House.
Well,
The
I'm
House
just
will meet
all right.
for
I'm
1
just
o'clock
saying.
unless it's extenuating circumstances, which is one though.
Wherever it is, once it start moving, but don't
I
get
am
fooled,
happy.
you know. I know them. We know they operate.
I
They
think
throw your
it's-
bone.
yeah, but
you know they go throw your bone. They'll throw the smallest bone on the list.
Once we keep the
spray.
conversation going, keep the pepper going, well, it's pepper. Keep the fire going, we will see the desired results. You
I
look
think
at me,
so,
right?
but-
And we have to keep the narrative and don't let
But
the
to keep the
narrative, don't let the
fire-
conversation die.
But to keep the fire going,
Sign,
people
sign,
or they had to
sign.
sign the petition, sign the petition,
Tell you,
We
sign
know
the
we have
petition.
some of you all trying to call in during the show, but we can't take calls from this panel. So we apologize for the switchboard lit up like a Christmas tree. We can't take calls for this one, but we will be following this up on Thursday night and we'll be taking your calls then. Continue, sir.
Yeah, I'm just saying, victory right around the corner, people. Victory around the corner, it already started happening, you're already seeing signs. I told earlier.
7 cases
told
forced them to be vigilant.
No, hold on.
But it wasn't vigilant for the elections.
I told you all 2 or 3 weeks ago, the one thing politicians fear the most is
God.
numbers. You see
What about
numbers.
the numbers of people who was climbing up on the truck and whining in each other's face for the election? What about those? Where was the vigilance for that? Where was that vigilance of this chief medical officer? I want to ask Parashram, where was his vigilance then? Where was his vigilance in THA election? Where was his vigilance when he was watching a spike take place in 2020 during the general
he did
election?
nothing.
And the president was waiting on his advice.
Yeah.
Where was he then?
I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm
We need
just
to end
saying.
this live before fella blow it.
I just
Then
no,
where
no, no,
really
no.
gonna-
I'm just saying. This is where we are. If you wanted evidence that you do have power, if you wanted evidence that the petition will have an impact, look at the things that have taken place over the last week. One, Prime Minister say pepper spray coming. All of a sudden in the discussion again, right? He was asked a question by Munilal in Parliament. Right, nice. He said coming in short order. So now he went and opened his mouth, and you know he'd like to put his foot in his mouth regularly. So
Before-
now we have a time frame. So
Answer me this.
TikTok, the clock
Answer me
ticking.
this. The company that did the camera systems, that they calling and they asking, who's repairing the cameras, when we getting the cameras. I drove past where that company used to operate in St. James by Bonds Road, and the building for rent. They have nothing going on there. Who is fixing the cameras? We can't get footage to find out who tried to kidnap this girl who had to stab up the man in his face. We can't get footage for that. What is
No,
going
well, all
on?
of that we had to fix. All of that we had to fix. But
But-
we have five items on the agenda. We have 5 items on this petition. All of that is things that have to fix. But we will get to all of that, right? But we didn't put that. We didn't put that in the petition. We put the first 5 things we put is the pepper spray, the regulating the PH drivers. Good. So right. But stop right there, right? I'm just giving people an example of the power of the petition already before we even get the 100,000 signatures, because they're afraid of 100,000 signatures. They don't want that embarrassment. They don't want that embarrassment. We pull up and deliver 100,000 signatures. They don't want that. So they start a move now. Right? They start a move now. So taxi drivers having conversation with the Minister of Works and Transport. Correct? They come and they present a uniform last week that they put in.
Yeah.
Right. And the minister is saying it's a kind of complicated thing to regulate the PH drivers, a difficult thing, but he will put it before cabinet.
No, you're right.
So
What he
all
said,
of that is good.
No, you can't just introduce that and move on. Because he said they are going to introduce rules and regulations that govern taxis outside of the H taxi system. But he's saying PH taxis are illegal. So whatever you call it, they play with words.
Double standards again.
They play with
It's not a
words.
this is not a Twin Island Republic, this is a double standard republic.
They play with words because they know for a fact that if the PH taxis go on strike tomorrow, if PH taxis stand down tomorrow, the entire private sector grind to a halt. Business people can't get their workers. You can't get people putting fries in the box and turning burgers. You can't. Those same people that you need to come and keep the lights on in Trinidad, TNT, TSTT workers. How you think they get to the work?
I agree
How
with
they
you.
get back
I
home?
agree with you. I agree with you, but I understand what he's saying at the same time. It's a complicated thing. Now it's complicated because they want to please both sides. They want to please the taxi drivers, they want to please the PH drivers. My thing is, you could only please the side that's safer. Top gun, full stop.
Stefan, we've been down this road.
No, full
when
stop.
they were introducing the maxi taxis, I was alive. I was in Trinidad and I was alive when they were trying to introduce the maxi taxi system, and we had all of this nonsense.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, H taxis run a route, PH taxis go off route, off traditional routes.
They
and
go beyond.
But when we talking off route, when a Bonds Road taxi drop you on Bonds Road, or a Diego Martin taxi drop you on Diego Martin Main Road, and you living up La Puerta Hill, you're going to stand up on the corner there and jump in a car and taking you up the hill.
Yeah.
We are being ridiculous in our foolishness, and we say that because they ignored it, all of a sudden they're talking and it's complicated. You ignored it for 20 years. It's been a problem for 20 years.
Yeah.
You have not paid any attention, despite the fact that you paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to do this. This is your job. Again, I ask, who was supposed to come in the parliament and fix it? The doubles man?
But Philip, when they had the opportunity to do that last year with COVID, they instead told us we had to wear masks in our private vehicles with our husbands rather than just fix the tax
Regulate
situation
it.
at that point. They
They
were like,
could've
no.
regulated it then.
So you are okaying criminality. You are doing zero
Exactly.
to protect.
Well
and
said.
that was my pet
That's the
peeve, you
point.
know. I tripped because at the end of the day, I always had a problem with PH. You see the headline, girl raped from PH taxi driver or woman. You know, that got me so mad because at the end of the day, it is illegal. The government has legitimized it, and you saying, well, I need to wear a mask with my husband because you refuse to address the situation. How does that make any sense? That was the point, to address the
So many
situation.
opportunities presented itself for them to fix and address it.
Agreed.
And I want to tell you something, it is not a complicated issue. It is done the world over. Success leaves clues. Copy and paste and put that in place. That's all we need to do. They overcomplicate things to fool people and make them think that they're working hard inside of there.
Well,
if you had a proper parliament in this country that sit down inside of there for 7 days straight, they can fix 90% of the problems.
But usually when politicians tell you it is a complicated process, that is them buying time, killing time, stalling. Nothing is really complicated in Trinidad and Tobago. The reason why they make it complicated is because when the contractor come and they get awarded the contract, and the contract is 250 million, but the contract only go 10 million. So they make it about 240 million of the taxpayers' money. They have to make sure that the process or the job seems as complicated as possible to justify the 240 million plus that they're going to get.
True, but not just to justify
That they're going to overprice
to
it.
frustrate and fool the conversation. So if you pick up the conversation and you want to talk about it now, if you want to talk about the overpass that they're building in Diego Martin that nobody asked for, nobody wants, nobody needs, it's not going to serve a purpose, nobody cares, it's just a way
And
for
you're
finance.
real to what I overpass,
No, because
man. That's-
I can tell you.
He's real to what I
You see
overpass,
that
but
same
always
money,
say it so.
you see that same money and that same overpass? If you take that same money and that same overpass down by Colville Street, down by where Power Gen was, and you dump those vehicles in Dock Road by the Hyatt, where they have a 4-lane highway, you know Dock Road is 4 lanes plus shoulders, and nobody using it now. If you put that overpass, Colville Street, straight into Dock Road, all of the traffic that exists on Western Main Road, Traffic Road, and Arapita Avenue disappears. Because Wrightson Road is 2 little skinny lanes that bring in 350,000 people into Port of Spain that has to cross traffic at Colville Street. Then it has to cross traffic at Port of Spain, at Independence Square. Then it has to cross traffic at South Key. The $100 million that you spend putting a fancy overpass by Hyatt, you could have built that overpass. And this is not about that. But this is me, I am actually agreeing with you. They spend so much foolish money and confuffle the issue. They make it sound convoluted.
A man put up a transport hub. A transport hub in East what of it?
The bus shed?
Just before
Lavantil. I went
in
and took a
Lavantil.
picture there.
But it marked transport hub to the. I go in with what they name it. It's a transport hub. They put up a transport hub, right? $210,000.
Wow.
But you see, they always sell out themselves. This little green shack costs 200. This little green little thing
It's a
with
shed.
It was a
It's
shed.
a shed. It's a little
Worse.
green shed,
It was worse than a shed.
right? They come and cut ribbon, Heinz and them, and say $210,000 it costs to build that. But they put up bus shed in Tobago.
Twice the
that
size.
looking twice the
Size
size.
for 55,000.
For
Thank you very
55,000.
much.
Now I don't know how that costs 55,000 either, but I'm just saying.
But it's less.
My
So
question
you're
is,
gonna
right?
get 4 transport hub.
Exactly. So my thing is this, right?
No, you'll be short by 10,000.
My thing is this, right? Now that we
Your
know,
arithmetic better
now
than
that we know,
Imagine I'm actually practicing somebody.
my thing is this. Now that we know that a bus shed in Tobago, like the ones we have seen,
It's 55,000.
costs 55.
We should import.
Who is going to hold the person responsible and
Nobody.
accountable for the
What is
$210,000 transport
accountability?
hub?
What is
They've
accountability?
moved on from that. They've moved on.
Yeah, but that's wrong. That is wrong. That is a crime.
No, but even if you're talking $210,000, one of the things that people in this country suffer, our low-end healthcare, is a simple thing as getting an ultrasound.
Point taken.
My little NGO without any government funding, we just waiting for COVID thing to start a program is $4,500 US. You could get a real good ultrasound machine that we can have set up in the communities. That people who need
Say the price
imaging,
again.
$4,500.
And I don't know, tell us something.
US.
I
US,
love that you're
alright?
doing that,
A
but it's
bulb
So that
glow,
people
a bulb
could
glow.
actually get an ultrasound and get a diagnosis. Because I sick today and you gonna give me an appointment for next year.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah.
All right, my father almost died in the hospital because they kept putting it off every day. And they couldn't treat him for the blood clot until they do the ultrasound. And then I take him out of the hospital, can't tell him and get the ultrasound to hear, yes, he have a blood clot. For them to readmit him to start giving him the blood thinners. If I didn't have the presence, people just die for small money in Trinidad.
Yeah.
But there was
And
a
we
doctor,
book, right? So
there was
we
a
need
doctor
to-
who said
we
that,
need
who
to-
said too
to
many people
speak.
are dying from preventable, easily fixed illnesses in this country. But we have situations where a bulb will blow in an MRI and then they will call on the supplier to replace it with a $13 million other MRI.
That's right.
We're not changing the bulb, we're changing the MRI.
And that's what I'm saying. You see, people sit down. I mean, it might sound like a petty issue. Might sound like a small issue.
The
I've gone back to
accumulative pettiness is what killing me.
Right,
Yes,
so I've gone back to the
1,000
bus shed and the transport hub. The 55,000 and the 210,000. In a real country,
This is a real
somebody
country.
done make a jail. Because now you have a comparison.
So I want to ask you a question.
You have something to compare. You have a $55,000 bus shed in Tobago that you could compare with your $210,000 transport hub in Trinidad. Somebody had to explain why this costs $210 if
And-
that costs
and
$55.
he
But we
But
never,
why?
But
why?
we never spoke to the fire truck issue or the flag.
The fire truck, the $2
And
million
so the
flag.
conversation has to be
The flag-
that
the
we need
flag-
to hold
You see
on.
the $2.1 million flag?
You could justify it.
No, not at all. Are you crazy?
I take your light out and I can't go
I am the one who
You'll have the torchlight
I
movement.
brought both. I brought the fire truck and I brought the flag. I brought those information in the public space.
Oh, I thought you brought it in.
I
Do
was.
you remember who we
You're
met
very
with for the fire
different.
truck?
And why?
Wait, coming back to that. It's coming back to that. Jody, it's coming back right here.
But listen,
You know why it's coming back right here? Let me tell you why it's coming back right here. You see when you see when you're corrupt. You see when you take when you mismanage money, good to feed a few, it take away
Stefan, I'm
from
gonna
the
give a piece of
grassroots people
information.
and the money
We
that you
have a
could put
piece
in
of
the
information
programs,
for you.
social programs, institution. You could build up institution. You could make social welfare a little more efficient
Absolutely.
for more people. It takes away from that while a few people benefit from a $210,000 transport hub that you can't justify.
Why I
for your-
said,
Please.
why I spoke to the
And that is why you have crime.
for the people who were
And that is why you have crime.
Could I
truck
just
was
rowdy
could I just say this?
order.
The fire truck issue.
we just
I was the person who got all the information and was bringing it in the public space.
In 2013.
In 2013, Candace Barrett was the lawyer.
And
And we sat.
no, who else?
Who
We
who
sat
went
and
to
met with
this?
another
I want to know who is
attorney
she the lawyer for? Who is she the lawyer for?
for our side.
Oh, because I thought she was the fire truck man.
We sat and met with another attorney who was going to work with us because he was not political. A fellow by the name of Stuart Young.
This is where I live.
What I was trying to say,
Next
why
thing you know, the man
I
in the BNM,
I'm bringing it
Why
back.
I
to
just-
Candlelight
I
Movement.
just want to cut you off.
Andrea's dad is on the
I don't want to cut you
Wait,
off, but I
wait,
think
wait.
we need to let people again know that we're looking for volunteers for this. This is what I was talking about earlier.
Yes.
I just want to highlight why we took two examples from either regime. So for me, I accounted the flag was under one set of condiments and the truck was under another set of condiments. So I am speaking to the both sets of issues. I'm not highlighting the corruption
One and without
I'm
the other.
giving both of them a different regime.
I find this conversation today
People, I come here
broke
to talk
down
about
quickly.
meeting, no,
People have a lot of passions here, and I respect that.
Candlelight, petition.
And
That's what
that's
I
it.
heard.
Bring it back to that.
Let's stick to
No,
this,
but-
please.
But Jody, I'm glad that the public gets to see what's an exchange of critical information where we're supposed to be having the conversation. The politicians are supposed to be answering all these questions. His point about the $55,000 bus share
I
in
saw
Tobago
that,
that
yes.
is bigger than the
Correct.
transportation hub. If I were him, because he has a show on a morning, I would call all of the attorneys who were involved in the ribbon cutting and ask them their opinion on it. I would call Keith Scotland. He's a member of Parliament for Port of Spain South. I would call Fitzgerald Hines. I don't know why he was cutting that ribbon, but call him too. And find out.
Or he's even
He's MP
for Lavantia.
So that's where that's why it's a transportation hub.
Because they put it in between Port of Spain
South
and
But Jody is correct. We need to stick on. We need to come back to the point of why we're here. So for those of you joining us late, we have decided that we will put our public meeting Friday from Arima on hold. The Candlelight Movement team will be on location. We will be holding that meeting live, virtually, from the location, so you will still be getting your information. Jody, Avanel, Candice, Felicia are coordinating the volunteers to start on the ground from tomorrow morning. So if you are interested in being a volunteer to go out and get petitions signed in your community, reach out to them. Satish would have been running a ticker tape on this live video. So, I mean, we were actually at closing comments about a half hour ago.
Yeah, which is when I mentioned.
Ask the wrong person.
No,
If you have anything else to say, just skip me and go to everybody because I go get real hot on this.
This is why I mentioned the volunteers, and Philip looked surprised. No, it's because we're asking for volunteers. Because despite the fact that we can't have people come down to Arima, we are still out there. The petition is still around. We're still sending it around. We still need people to come out and sign the petition, which is most important. So it doesn't matter if we can't go out Friday and we can't go to South, we can't go to Arima. The petition is still out there, and we still need the signatures. So that is what is important, and we'll be happy to have volunteers come on board, because as much people as we can have go out there is more signatures we'll get, and that's what we need.
And what is the date of the march?
The 9th of April.
Come 9th of April, we are going to march 6 feet apart, walk from Arima to Port of Spain, and everybody who feels on that day to walk from Arima to Port of Spain too, we are walking a petition to the Parliament. If we do not get permission for the walk, if the 7 cases become 11 and we have to shut the country down, we will have a motorcade because our cars will be socially distanced from each other.
And we'll be wearing masks in our private vehicles.
And we'll be wearing masks in our private vehicles. Avanel, closing comments. All the love in your heart.
I want to just again thank Trinidad and Tobago citizens at home and those in the diaspora for the outpouring of love. Again, I keep saying it, we are at this moment. Carpe diem, that's what the Latin saying. Seize the day. We are seizing this moment. We have to press, we have to keep focus, avoid the old talk, the whataboutism, who did what, who did. This is what we are doing. We are marching towards 100,000. If you haven't signed, or if you have signed but you are mobile and you can get the petition and you can take it around, especially now that we cannot have our public gatherings as law-abiding citizens working within the confines of the laws, we are asking you to be the hand and feet, to keep the candle burning, so to speak.
Amen.
And take the petitions out and listen out.
Of course.
We need your help so that we can do this. We don't want to say we're doing this and not do it. We are doing this. We're getting it done.
But I can listen to you all day and I'm telling you something. You form a church, I come in and enjoy.
Me too.
And then you should open down.
Preaching system.
Jody Mohammed, closing comments.
No, I just want us to continue doing what we're doing, because clearly we are scaring everybody. That's why they're trying to shut us down, which I just want to say, this is not for a whole argument, but I know we are giving people in Trinidad and Tobago hope. And we need to continue to give them hope, so we cannot stop. We need to get these signatures, and we need to hand it over to Parliament very soon, so people come out and sign. If you all need petitions, please contact us. People have been contacting me. There are different locations throughout Trinidad. If you haven't gotten a chance, you need to check Facebook. We are posting locations. Go out and sign the petition.
Candice Barrett.
These ladies always leave me with so little to say. I just want to add that if you want any updates on what is going on with us, locations, upcoming sort of events or where we will be, please check the Candlelight Movement Facebook page. We are trying to update it as much as possible with all the relevant information, locations, where you could find the petition, and just find the petition and sign it.
Felicia Holder.
Somebody messaged me and asked me to mention where you can access the petition if you are overseas. We have hubs set up right now in Canada. We have Anthony Sinanan, who is spearheading the petition signing in Toronto, Canada. So if you would like to reach out to him, just send me a message on 769-4590 and I will get his contact information to you. We have Denise Xavier in New York, who is spearheading the petition signing there. Today we're about to ask Nisha Paul. So Nisha, I'm putting you on the spot here, but I anticipate that you were going to say yes anyway. Nisha Paul in England, who is going to assist with the what?
You just say yes.
Yeah, I both face like
You
that.
ask her that, so they say.
You know Nisha Paul?
Yeah.
The names that I call, I am confident
Those
and I
are people
stand
that will stop
behind
what they're doing
it.
to
That
do this.
exactly, that will
Right.
literally chase me down if they don't get the opportunity to put their own signature on this. So it is available overseas. If you know that you have a location, another state in the United States, please reach out to me. 769-4590. My number is a public number at this point in time. Just don't call me after 9, please. But if you have to send a WhatsApp message, you can WhatsApp any of the numbers that are up on the screen, 471-2888, 486-2888. If you'd like to volunteer, you can just send your information. Tell us where you would like to volunteer. We will provide you with the forms. We will provide you with the pens. Maybe you might have to get your own clipboard. We have a few here in the office, but of course, if you would like to help, that is what we need. Most importantly, Jody said it, Candice said it, Avenel said it, signatures. That is what we need. We are crossing that 100,000 by the end of this week. And I mean, when I say crossing, we are crossing all signatures, not just papers given out, as in things coming in. Of course, if you'd like to return your petition sheets as well, we are going to release by tonight the hub areas that you can go and drop these forms into to make it easier for those who can't come down all the way to headquarters. If you cannot access any of those locations, again, call any of the numbers that you see. My number is 769-4590, and we will do our best to facilitate you. And last but not least, again, thank you so much to everybody for all that you're doing. I swear there's nothing that we need that Trinbagonians not volunteering to do. Like, we just need to make a call and y'all are there responding. So thank you so much for the love and the effort that y'all are putting behind helping us cross the 100,000 signatures. I know that y'all are doing it out of love for country, and I love you all for it. Thank you.
Well said, all the ladies. And before I hazard a chance to pass on to Stefan with a timer, I want to say a special on behalf of all of the team, happy birthday to Avenel Hector Joseph and Inshan Ishmael.
Woo!
Happy birthday to both of them, a day apart. So I think we insisted Avenel get here, but Inshan White wouldn't let him in the house. They celebrated birthday here. So happy birthday to both
And
of them.
Inshan's daughter is also celebrating her birthday today.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So it's a good time. I also want to say a big thank you to Satish Ramsaram of Cut Media, Adrian Lowry, and Crispin. Crispin has one name like Madonna. We don't know his last name.
I think they're like really large, you know, like it's one name.
When you have one name, you don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to pass this on to Stefan for closing comments.
Remember,
Okay,
we're
I'll be
winding
short.
down.
I'll be short because at the beginning of this, we said it would be an 8-minute live.
It's closing in on an hour.
It was supposed to be an 8-minute live. How long, Philip? 10 minutes.
Tell
Reach
us
the studio.
hostage.
How long, Philip? 8 minutes.
But Stefan does that.
I'm giving Stefan
So-
2 minutes.
So,
Time him.
look, we know throughout the two meetings that we've had, I've met a lot of people. As a matter of fact, Baraka Wrongs, I met a lady, she walked up to me and her daughter was raped at one of our institutions, our upstanding institutions. And she came up to me and she walked up to me and she said she was raped when she was 16, either 16 or 17, and that was 17 years ago. And nothing ever came to it. Nothing. And in the middle of telling me the story, or trying to tell me the story, she broke down and started crying. And these are the people that are coming out to these meetings. These are the people, you know why they're coming out? Jody said it, and I think we've all said it. They feel a sense of hope. within the hopelessness they've been living in for so many years. Sean Luke's mom, and I spoke about it last night in a live, and I say it again because it really stayed with me. That lady did not have to open her mouth and say a word. You could just look at her and you could see the pain that she's going through.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand. So, we like to say, you wouldn't know it unless it reach home by you. You don't want it to reach home by you, partner. You don't want it to reach home by you.
That's a pain nobody want to have.
You don't want to have that pain. You don't want to have to carry that I don't want to say that trauma, that grief, that despair, that hopelessness. You don't want to, that sadness, you don't want to have to experience that like Daddy Barrett or Sean Luke's mother or Shannon Banfield's mother or whomever,
But-
right?
Or
You don't want
Candice
to,
Riley.
or Candice Riley. You don't want to have to carry that. So stop saying, we had to move from saying people don't understand it until it reach home by them to saying it must not reach home by anybody
else.
again.
Agreed.
Exactly.
And that's what the Candlelight Movement about. It's about, we know we can't stop crime. We know we can't do that completely. But if we could make a dent in it and make it a little safer,
Massively impact.
Yeah.
it would only benefit everybody. And I said it on Friday and I'll say it again. You shouldn't want a safer Trinidad and Tobago for you alone. You should want it for your children and your children and whoever
Indeed.
come in. That's how you had to look at things.
Indeed.
That's how you had to look at things. Back in the day, you could have dropped, I said this already, I think I said this already. I used to go Astor Cinema. You could have dropped your kids off at Astor Cinema. Leave them there.
Felicia, I'm going to ask you, what was that Astor?
You don't know Astor Cinema?
What is that?
It have a big church there now, there's a woodbook right there.
Anybody
That was a big family, that was a family cinema.
Anybody under 40, and that was the first cineplex.
I don't know. I
There
don't
was
know.
a Astor
But that
in
only
the-
stopped
It was
being,
really
that only
nice.
stopped
I
being
don't know.
a cinema in the late
You could have,
90s.
let me tell you
Right.
something. You could have dropped your kids off there. You could have dropped your children back on Park Street by Globe, partner.
This was a long time ago.
And they're safe.
Okay, but I want to say this.
Okay,
So
time
we
is up.
want to get back to
Yes,
that. We
yes,
want to get back
Yeah,
to
2
that.
minutes is up.
2 minutes is up.
And for all of you who joined us today on this live video,
Yeah.
anybody else want to ask?
I just want to add one last quick
Oh my
thing.
goodness.
See, at least it wasn't
No, as he just mentioned, Sean Luke's mommy,
Yeah.
Pauline Lamfai, today is her birthday, and I want
Hey.
to wish you happy birthday, Pauline.
And we were able to send her a
We
cake
sent her
that we
cake.
got courtesy bakery treats to send to her, and it's probably on its way to her now. Happy birthday from the Candlelight Movement and all of your new friends and family.
Yes, that's it.
That ladies are gem, boy. That lady.
I just want to say one thing, and it comes out of what Stefan said. You called 4 or 5 families, right? But when, in this that we've been doing, and I've said this before, the amount of families that are touched by crime. I mean, people who are helping us, who are saying nothing, and then through the grapevine, like Latoya, in Tobago, who is helping Susan Lalchan and Joseph, whose daughter disappeared 10 years ago.
We had Shadi Emmanuel's
and
family.
Shadi
The mother
Emmanuel's
can't
family
even
was
speak.
there. Yeah, the mom can't speak, the dad had to speak on Friday. I mean, there are so many people touched by this, and we know the big names, but one thing I say is that we have a way, maybe it's human nature, that we compare grief and we compare hurt. So Latoya would have told Susan and they, or Randolph Barrett, my son died, but it's not as bad as what happened to you, but he was murdered on his 16th birthday. And, that is a heartbreak. Every single parent that loses their child, or whose daughter is missing, or whose son is
You never
missing,
recover.
they are completely broken, and we have so much trauma in the society. It is utterly heartbreaking.
I could add something for Philip.
Sure.
Something very short.
We all can
No,
add-
I just added
Satish,
very
name
short.
of this video, when it's done, name it. Can I add something?
No, I just want to add this one thing.
I'm gonna call it 2 cents.
Just one little thing. This one little thing, Avanel. One little thing. Because I really had to go.
Sorry.
Convince yourself. Go ahead. Go on, Jamaica.
A lot of the people who watch the meetings and saw the crowds, and they presumed it's a political thing, and like there's a vote
Okay, I need to say something.
Right. Hold on. All right. I just want to let you know, right? Just coming off the back of what you said. If you came instead of sitting down in your house and making a presumption and taking that position with that mindset, if you were there at those meetings, you would have known that about 3/4 of the crowd there are victims of crime. 3/4 of the crowd. Nearly every person you go to was a victim of crime and have a story. And those are the people that came out to the meetings. So for those of you that like to open your mouth and put your foot in it.
And before I let Avenel say her 2 cents, Stefan, I want to tell you something.
I just wanted to say that.
That is what Candice and Avenel have been doing. They've been reaching all of these formerly nameless, faceless people who have just been crying in the dark in silence, and have given them this platform. What we were doing evolved into a space where they could just come and embrace one another and say, and it became front page news. And that's what the authorities in their vigilance are stopping right now. The fact that our people are finding camaraderie in their hurt and their pain. And the Candlelight Movement will wait out COVID-19. We will wait out COVID-20 and COVID-21. We will be here. We will be marching, standing, agitating for these people who have not had voices, who have not had representation. It is a sin against heaven that this woman's son, 15 years now, still, case can't begin. We cannot sit back as people in this country and continue to accept that any of this is right or normal, because none of it is.
I would like to say, a lot of comparison is being made between the gentleman who would have done this petition type thing before with the Keep Noel movement. I want to say, for me, Avenel, Aleta, Shaki, Akila, Hector Joseph, in March 2021, on the eve of my 50th birthday, the Candlelight Movement that I'm a part of is not a political movement. I want to say that if in the next 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, God says that I should go into politics, nobody is going to hold me to some event some movement that I was in 2021 and say, well, back then, right now, I was involved in politics in a previous incarnation. I don't know what the future will hold. But this, for me, is not about any political gimmicks. And some of the other who talking that sort of rubbish, we need to get it right. Because you see the armchair warriors that they call you, who stay home, keyboard warriors, what about? We ain't have time for that.
They're giving too much attention to those absolute minorities.
Yeah. Okay.
They're absolute minority.
No, but there were people who are on the fence now, and they're listening to those absolute minorities.
Yeah, but if they came to the meetings, they would know.
They have nobody, no keyboard warrior outside there could move somebody like your voice could. Yeah. I want to tell you something. I will make sure you get that voice. We will be here. I want to be clear. For as long as there are people who are going to be allowed to sell chicken and chips, the Candlelight Movement will be right here on standby, waiting to give these people a voice. And they know, and I'm saying to all of you, that you're waiting your 15 years, your 20 years, the Candlelight Movement here is for you, and it is for all the people of Trans-Tobago. Stefan says a fact. We may not be able to stop crime, but we could have a massive impact on the lives of people and give them some safety again. Look, we could talk.
Can I say one more thing?
No.
I swear, I'll keep it brief. I'm sorry. What I will say is that if you are a victim, in that if your child has been murdered or is missing or you're a rape victim, please feel free to reach out to me, because we want your voice to be heard and we want your story to be heard. The way that we've had to do this moving forward, due to our decision in terms of the meetings, is slightly different, but I would really like to get in contact with you. So, I mean, it doesn't discriminate once you're a parent or even a child or a sister or sibling of someone who has been raped, murdered, anything along the lines of what we are doing, missing.
Human trafficking.
Human trafficking, which is something we haven't even started speaking about, but that is definitely something we're all cognizant of. Please, if I do not answer your call, because I can't answer every single call, please WhatsApp me 276-4422, and I wanna. Yes, I have no choice. I have
Start
no
off-
choice.
She started the show by telling Tati she can't give her
I'm
hand.
not-
No, because you know what? I really, Avenel and I mean, all of us, but Avenel and I have spoken to so many victims. And I mean, I honestly, I'll tell you, I woke up Friday
Satish add
completely
Candice number to the ticket.
for the purpose of victims and families. But you know, I got up Friday and I was last week and I was just so heavy with all the grief and pain and emotion that we have been dealing with, and it was a hard day. I didn't even think I would have gotten through Baraka grounds. But you know what, this is important because, you know, even Saturday morning I spoke to Shadi Emanuel's mom, Marilyn, for about 20 minutes, and you know, there's something I want to do that I will obviously involve my sisters in at the end of all of this. But I do want to get into contact with you. So please WhatsApp me and we will have a chat at some point soon. 276-4422.
And one of the things that one of the members has asked is that we facilitate psychological counseling and healing for a lot of these people who did not benefit from that through no fault of theirs. It is an expensive thing, and we are in conversation right now with trained counselors and psychologists. It's never too late to sit down, and even group therapy. People who've gone through similar horror shows. I mean, everybody saw that moment in time when Andrea's daddy hugged Sean Luke's mommy. I mean, if nothing broke us, that moment broke us, because you were literally looking at two parents who understand pain the way none of us understand pain, consoling each other. You could tell the passion of the people on this panel, and that this video could go on forever, but we really do have to bring it to a close. So we want to thank everybody who viewed the show. If you could share the video on all of your networks, let everyone know that we have decided to stick up in this Friday's public meeting. There will still be an event. The public, unfortunately, will not be invited to attend, but we are ramping up our petition signing, our petition distribution, and we're launching volunteers on the ground for the next 3 weeks, so that come, what's the date of it?
9th of April.
9th of April, we will be serving Stefan's 250,000 signatures, Parliament of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, who, if you forgot, own the Parliament building and pays the salaries of those who occupy that space. The people of Trinidad and Tobago are requesting that these 5 things, by their signatures, be addressed. We move forward from here. We'll be talking to you soon. As Candice said, stay true to all of the pages. Every one of these people have their own Facebook profiles with massive followings. Pay attention to the Citizens Union page. Pay attention to the Candlelight Movement page. And we will, by Philip Alexander, the page that you're on now. But we will be updating on an hourly basis now to let you know where you can get petitions, where you can return petitions, and where people will be on the ground as volunteers signing petitions. You might show up in Citygate tomorrow morning and find 50 volunteers signing petitions, signing ticket signatures. So until next time, stay safe.
Can I say one more thing? I already joking.
Stay safe.